So last week, I decided it was time to get out of New Jersey. I loaded up the toy hauler and headed north. The first stop was up in Vermont, where I scouted out a local park on Google Maps. I pulled up in the toy hauler, unloaded my paramotor, and realized I didn't have enough gas for the flight. Luckily, the toy hauler has an onboard gas station, so I mixed up some Motul and some premium gasoline. Okay, so we're starting this video on a mini road trip with the toy hauler, going around the Northeast, and we're here in Vermont, and up on a mountain over there, there is a radar base, an abandoned old radar facility, and I'm gonna take my paramotor and hopefully fly up there, and this video is gonna go one of two ways. Either I'm gonna get up there and there's gonna be a reasonable area to land, I'm gonna land safely, I'm gonna walk around and explore this radar base, or we're gonna exercise good judgment and see that it is completely really dangerous and abort mission, and then it'll just be a good flight regardless. But I've got my wings set up, I've got my motor gassed up and ready to go. I think there might be a park ranger or just some guy that thinks he's special on his way over, and I'm gonna take off and go and do a thing. So let's get out of here before the sun sets.
And there he goes. Pure athleticism, exercised extraordinarily. Nice form. He disappears into the wilds. This is embarrassing. It happens to everybody, it's not just you, okay?
Adventure. I'm up with a tailwind launch, and as you can see up ahead, there's a lot of trees. That right there to my right is Burnt Mountain. Over here on the left, it's somewhere along that ridge, I believe, that I'm headed to. Because there's so many trees and not a lot of possible areas to land, I need to gain a lot of altitude between here and there so that I can glide back to safety if my engine were to fail. So I'm going to keep climbing. I'm going to approach this mountain, and hopefully I see the radar base up top. Once I get up close and personal with the radar base, I'm going to make an assessment of if it's feasible to land up there or not. Regardless, I'm going to make a safe decision and not crash on top of a mountain and have to call in a helicopter. Alright, I can start to see now that it's actually the farther ridge, not this closer one, which makes it a little bit more challenging. My hopes honestly aren't that high, but we're going to go for it.
So as I approached the radar base, it became apparent how sketchy this mission really was. Paramotors are two-stroke engines, and they do die occasionally, so we always try to keep an option for landing in mind. However, going out to this radar base, there are a ton of trees and the landing options are minimal. That's why I flew high all the way out there, so at least I had some options, even if it was a tight landing area. The other thing I realized as I got closer to the radar base was that the winds were extremely high, and I had a strong tailwind for this entire flight.
I'm starting to feel a push of the wind up here. We'll get down low, we'll check it out, we'll feel it out. Looking at it, just assessing it from here. I'm not too confident. Well, there's the radar base. Graffiti and everything. Oh, wow. I can just start to see the tops of the trees down there. And the pine trees, I think, are solid enough that you can't really see movement in the trees. But the other normal trees, the ones with leaves on them, are straight up bending over.
So once I reached the radar base, I realized it was not at all hopeful that I would be able to land. However, I made a few passes to assess the situation, and in the meantime, here's some facts about the radar base. The radar base was constructed in 1954. It took about 2 years and $21 million. The base was constructed during the Cold War, and the primary objective was to detect any signs of nuclear activity. There were about 174 men on the base, and it included accommodations, a store, a bowling alley, a theater, a barber shop, and even a mess hall. There were a lot of weird legends around this base, and one occurred a few years before the base actually closed in 1961. The military reported an incident lasting about 18 minutes. Allegedly, hours later, Barney and Betty Hill were abducted by a UFO in the Franconia Notch area in New Hampshire. A lot of people have speculated that these events were related. Shortly after, the base closed in 1963, and then it started to fall apart. Over the years, a few people have unfortunately died at this base, including a snowmobiler who got clotheslined by a chain, and more recently, someone fell off of one of the roofs in 1990.
So, literally, like, if there was more wind, I could probably park it on top of this building. And if there was less wind, I could probably come in for a landing on this roadway. But it's right in between where it's like not ideal for me either. Touched it. Alright, I've officially called it. I'm headed back and I'm cutting kind of crosswind back towards the road until I can get lower, and then I'm gonna drop down over the road, which is more forgiving terrain, and make my way back to home base.
The flight home was much the same, lots of trees, but this time I was battling a pretty significant headwind, so I cut crosswind until I could get to a lower altitude, and then followed a road all the way back home. So after the flight at the radar base, we started to head to the southeast. Did a really cool hike at a place called Tabletop Mountain, devoured some delicious food and beers, went on a motorcycle adventure, and checked out a few wind turbines. After that, we arrived at a beach in Massachusetts. I just wanted a quick flight here because I've really never flown on any other East Coast beaches aside from Florida, so this was pretty cool.
I just found this random beach and pulled the paramotor out of the toy hauler, set up and launched. We're in, I think, Massachusetts. I've never flown any Northeast beach. I mean, I live in New Jersey and I've never flown the beach there, only ever in Florida. Absolutely gorgeous conditions. So when we parked, the woman told us that she had to let us know there was an advisory released that there was a sewage spill in the sound here, whatever you call it. But some people were still choosing to go swimming in the water, even though they were warned not to. And I don't think that's it. That looks like an oil spill up ahead. But regardless, apparently there's a sewage spill.
Despite the sewage spill, I went for a couple quick touch and goes, which are probably the most fun thing to do on the beach when the wind is strong like this. Flew some formation with a random airplane, and then I saw a banner towing airplane, which I've never had an opportunity to fly up close with one.
That's not something you get to see every day. That is crazy. Okay, I'm gonna call this good. We're gonna come in for a landing.
As I was packing up, quite a few people came over to ask questions and express some interest in what a paramotor is all about, which was pretty cool. Aside from that, that's all I've got for this episode. As always, make sure you check out tuckergott.com, the first link in the description, if you need any ozone wings, reserves, harnesses, e-props, propellers. Stay tuned because pretty soon I'm actually going to be giving away the motor that I flew in this video and the motor I've been flying for a while now. It's going to be an awesome giveaway, so stay tuned for that. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Till the next time, have fun, fly safe, peace.